Libya has become something of a black hole, right smack in the middle of the Mediterranean. It is importing and sucking in all kinds of actors and regional rivalries and geopolitical fault lines, and exporting and spitting out instability drivers across various regions. These, of course, impact Africa and North Africa and the Middle East, but are also increasingly interlinked with various rivalries that are playing out in the Mediterranean, and particularly in the Eastern Mediterranean, but also in Europe. Indeed, the conflict in Libya has evolved. It is no longer a localized civil war, but has mutated into an international proxy war in which actors ranging from Russia to the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Turkey, Qatar are all involved, projecting their interests and influence over the conflict in Libya. This has created a situation which promotes extreme fault lines and instability drivers not only for Italy, but also for the European Union more broadly. From Italy's standpoint, a key Mediterranean country which is actually in very close geographic proximity to the Libyan coastline, the migration issue has no doubt dominated public discourse with regards to Libya. This is because not only of the increasing uptake of migrant arrivals departing from Libya and crossing the central Mediterranean route and arriving on Italian shores, but it is also and perhaps particularly because of the important weight and impact that migration issues are having on domestic politics in Italy, including on the support and political support for political figures and political parties in Italy, and therefore also even on the durability and sustainability of Italian governments. Besides migration, of course, Italy has other interests with regards to Libya. These range from commercial interests to trade relations and, of course, energy security. A number of very important Italian companies have vast interests in the hydrocarbon sector in Libya, but others are more recently positioning themselves in the construction sector, particularly in the western Tripolitanian region, where the United Nations-backed and recognized government of national accord is located in the capital Tripoli. The GNA government in Tripoli is backed by Italy. It is also backed by Turkey, which sent a number of military personnel and assistance to Tripoli during a 14-month assault that was led by General Khalifa Haftar, who is allied with a rival government located in the eastern city of Tobruk. The Turkish intervention allowed Tripoli to push back and break the siege of the capital, pushing the front lines further eastwards, where most recently in August, late August, a ceasefire has been declared. From Italy's standpoint, within Europe, Italy has been one of the most vocal and active actors seeking to support the UN-led diplomatic process in Libya. Italy has also cooperated very closely with the government in Tripoli. A number of military assistance missions have been approved, and Italy is actively training and supporting the Libyan Coast Guard and a number of other security forces within Tripoli. The most recent developments, including the ceasefire, provide a slimmer of hope that a renewed diplomatic negotiation process led by the UN and under German auspices can lead to a breakthrough in this long conflict lasting since 2011, and more importantly, the civil war, this latest phase of the civil war, which began in April 2019 with General Haftar's assault on Tripoli. However, much uncertainty remains, and there are increasing risks on the horizon. Indeed, the conflict is not only an internationalized proxy war between two rival governments, but increasingly there is an internal dimension of the conflict, both in East and Western Libya. We have seen a number of increasing protests and popular mobilizations across Libyan localities, protesting against the rampant corruption, the collapse of social services, and the declining of living standards. Indeed, the conflict since 2019 has caused widespread damage to infrastructure and social services. This internal dimension of the conflict poses particular challenges for the diplomatic process led by the United Nations, and therefore represents also a source of risks for Italy and the European Union more broadly. Italy will continue supporting the United Nations efforts and will contextualize its policies within the broader transatlantic and European dimensions. Indeed, another dimension of risk for Italy and importance of Libya for Italian foreign policy is specifically that which it is a conflict and an issue of instability which touches on all three of Italy's traditional pillars of Italian foreign policy. This is the transatlantic relationship with the United States, with Libya having an important impact not only on bilateral Italian-US relations, but also on the stability and sustainability of NATO. The second pillar of European integration and the European project, Libya represents a source of discord between European countries, which needs to be overcome in order for Europe to speak with one voice when it comes to the conflict. And finally, the third pillar of Italian foreign policy, which is the Mediterranean. Of course, Libya represents a fault line and a source of significant instability, not only for the Mediterranean itself and for Libya itself, but for the wider region, given its increasing interlinkages with broader rivalries and geopolitical conflicts being played out in the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean. The combination of these issues makes Libya a key dossier for Italian foreign policy. However, it is one in which Italy needs support from its European allies and partners, as well as from the United States, in order for the transatlantic alliance to speak with one voice when it comes to the diplomatic process and putting pressure on those external sponsors to the conflict, both in Turkey and Qatar, as well as in the United Arab Emirates and Egypt, and even in Russia, as only when, when this external dimension of the conflict is addressed, together with the internal dimension of social economic opportunities and reconstruction and reconciliation efforts, can Libya be finally placed on a more stable and supportive plane, leading towards hopefully a reconciliation agreement, intra-Libyan dialogue, and the creation of a single, united, and legitimate government for all Libyans.